You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Hello?
Hey, well, it didn't play the video clip for me, so I was just sitting here waiting for the show to start.
It didn't play it?
All it said across my thing was your browser is not playing the video clip. So I actually tuned into X to see that it was in fact playing. It just wasn't playing on my browser. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I'm your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, dealing with my friend, co-chair and co-host of the American Capitalist Party and Capitalist Corner, Michael Liebowitz. Michael, so I don't think it was a technical snafu on your part. I think it's just my failing equipment. As you know, I have to get a new computer. I already know it. Don't remind me. I've just been very busy.
The folks also think you should get yourself a new mic.
Is this just because your mic is now showing up my mic and it's now giving my mic an inferiority complex that people are reading and they're like, dude, come on.
Pretty much, yes.
No, I'm not a fan. Michael, you are also helming this amazing channel, The Rational Alternative. I know that shows have been shifting and changing because you're making changes to the channel and you want us to grow our viewership. So tell us what's going on here. Keep us up to date.
Well, okay. So first of all, you and I have a great episode out right now of The Rational Egoist, where we discuss the capitalist personality. That's awesome. Now, The Rational Egoist, I've been hosting for a little more than 3 years. I got about 1,700 subscribers, but there's just an incongruity between doing this and doing that, and people don't know where to find me. So I'm going to, in a few weeks, maybe a month or so, discontinue The Rational Egoist. However, I'm going to, on this channel, The Rational Alternative, do the type of content that I was doing on The Rational Egoist, interviews, debates, discussions, that sort of thing. In addition to this, which is our flagship show, we also have the Saturday Capitalist Corner weekend. Sundays, we have member-only content that's normally at 11 a.m. Eastern time. This week, it's going to be a little early, 9 a.m. But I'm very motivated to grow this channel, and I've kind of figured out what the mission needs to be and sort of what I wish to communicate to people. And we're going to see that today is that we want to promote capitalism. And I think that in order to do that, it's a very complex task. I think we need to make the positive case for capitalism, primarily the moral case, and also the economic case, but again, primarily the moral case. I think we also need to differentiate ourselves from people who claim to be advocating capitalism. And I think we need to soundly refute the socialists. And I think we can do that. We're going to have to find the proper blend, the proper emphasis, but I think we can do that all the while covering current events, and we can do it with humor. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me, Kathy. It is Friday, so that's Q&A Friday. So anybody who has questions, please drop them in our queue, especially if you want to form those questions in the form of a super chat. That is great. Also, super stickers are welcome here. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel across social media platforms because we want the message of individualism, reason, capitalism, liberty, personal autonomy. We want it to get out there in the world. It's not popular right now. Tribalism and collectivism are the popular things, but we need to refute those and offer a better alternative for people. Speaking, Michael, of what you were talking about just now, did you see my appearance on KTLA Channel 5, or did you hear about it?
I heard about it because you told me.
Besides me, I'm wondering if anybody out there saw it. Any local folks see the the Channel 5 news in the morning? I was on there promoting my friend's film, which I am starring in, and which also opens up, I think, in Los Angeles at the Laemmle and NoHo, and I think in New York, and I think in New Jersey, Michael, it's going to be at Kevin Smith's Theater, and he's going to hold a forum there, a Q&A after the showing of the movie. Kevin Smith is a big indie film fan and certainly a very entertaining guy. So if you're out in New Jersey, anybody, go to his theater, check out the film, and sling hash at the filmmakers. What can I say? Thank you, Kaya, for that $4.99 super sticker. I sent you something about how to get out of a reverse Keisugatami. Just so you know, I've never been put in a reverse Keisugatami. So when you said Keisugatami, I didn't read the reverse part, which, I usually sweep people out of the Keisugatami just because I'm a big lumbering son of a bitch, and it's not so hard for me to do that move so much. But there's a great escape I sent you. I hope you check it out. I think it will serve you. So Michael,
hold on 1 second. I just shared your appearance on both Facebook and X. So anybody that follows me on either platform that wants to see it can go find it there.
Go check it out, folks. I think you may find it interesting. Although I sent my buddy in jiu-jitsu took a screenshot of me on the show, and I sent it to some other friends, and they're like, "What are you so animated about?" Because I just look like I'm animated about something, and I didn't remember what it was. Thank you, Kathy, for that $4.99. Happy first weekend of this summer. Wow, Michael, time is flying. So we got a lot to deal with today, Michael. So why don't
before we do anything, I want to show you something.
Yeah.
Let me remove this so that they can see. I want to share, because we're going to talk about the Democratic Socialists of America today, because that's where the energy is on the left. So a lot of folks have thought that backing the Trumpster is the way to go. That's how you fight the commies. I personally don't see how you abandon your principles in an attempt to save them. So the people all over X, all the MAGA folks, are very giddy about this post from Donald Trump. He says, "The communists are finally making their move. I've been waiting and preparing for this for a long time. It's easy to be a communist. All you have to do is say, 'I'll give you everything.' But that means you're taking it away from others that have earned it. Over thousands of years, that ideology has not worked once. The game is on. Enjoy watching President Donald Trump." Now, fundamentally, capitalism is about individual rights, specifically property rights. Okay. Donald Trump has supported eminent domain, which means the government can take your property. Now, that's also in the Constitution, unfortunately. But in the Constitution, it says the government can take private property for public use. Donald also supported the Kelo decision out of New London, Connecticut, which favored taking private property and giving it to private developers. Not exactly a property rights guy. He also supported, after the San Bernardino shootings, he supported compelling Apple, in violation of their property rights, to turn over their security secrets to the FBI. He also supports tariffs, which are a tax where they take your money. He has supported the ridiculous idea of price gouging. And he's got now his Justice Department looking into oil companies, accusing them of price gouging. He's actually enacted legislation to hold down prices during COVID, or rather, not legislation, executive order. He signed into law a bump stock ban, or another executive order, I'm sorry. He said, take guns first, then give due process. He's threatened various companies, including Carrier, about how they're going to run their business, violating their property rights. He's threatened to take licenses away from media companies. He's refused to do anything serious about entitlements. In short, this is not the guy to hitch your wagon to when fighting against the rising tide of socialism on the left. He is a nightmare. He's unprincipled. I put a post out today and I said the fundamental difference between Trump and the communists is that they have principles, where he doesn't. Nothing. The people who think what he's advocating is capitalism are just wrong. And the people who think that getting in bed with him to fight the commies are just as wrong. Now, there's an abundance of comments here that I want to go back through so we can see them. Okay, we've got a $4.99 super chat. She says, "Happy first weekend is summer." Kathy Cassio, thank you so much. Let me see. Let me go through these. Mark, you go ahead and comment on what I just had to say.
By the way, I already thanked some of those folks who gave us the super chats and super stickers. Just so you know, but yeah, I agree with you. You cannot fight something. You cannot fight a principle by taking someone who agrees with the essence of the principle, yet will sometimes violate that principle when whim demands it. So Trump clearly agrees with the principle that the state can and should reach into private lives when it's appropriate. And appropriate just means when his whim desires it. He's not against the state reaching into your private life and controlling it in principle. He's for it. In principle, he just departs occasionally and only by whim. So when you have somebody like that going up against a hard principled person, it's a hard principled person who's going to win the argument every time. And this is why the Democratic Socialists are starting to, I think, take hold in the political community, because they are consistently principled altruists and collectivists across the board. They're not just, well, we agree with you as the Republicans do that altruism and collectivism is true, but you got to hustle in a little self-interest every once in a while. They fully buy the ethics of altruism and collectivism. And they're also addressing things, Michael, that people are concerned about, primarily the affordability crisis. Now, of course, they ascribe different causes to the affordability crisis than we as capitalists do. And they ascribe solutions that, frankly, the state has been attempting for generations, which always prove to have the same outcome: failure, rationing of resources, people getting less, people becoming more impoverished. It's always the result, Michael, but because they think it's right, it's good, it's moral, they continue to pursue it, trying to find different avenues into pursuing this goal of goodness. Now, that's where we come in and we say, well, that's not the goal. That's not the metric we need to measure goodness by anymore. But I want to let's talk a little bit about the Democratic Socialists of America and their platform and what they believe to be true. Go ahead.
Definitely. I do want to address two things first. One is the commies are giving rock to rock Chartrand. Well, he gives it back. They're going back and forth, arguing a little bit. And they say, oh, he's afraid to debate. So I've repeatedly told him, I'll debate you. But of course, Noah, sure, come on my show, come on my Discord. When I've seen what they do when they control the mic already. I've seen them mute you, or Haz Al-Din, which is his right-hand man, muted you. So I told him, well, why not do it on a neutral platform? I'm up for it. It's much easier for them to just keep accusing people of being afraid than actually engage in the debate. And I do want to answer Mr. Deagle's question. Mr. Deagle says, what is the most effective way to spread good ideas? Firebrandism or more mellow advocacy? I think both are important, depending what you mean by firebrandism. I think mellow advocacy is great for academia. It's great for debates, for writing in books. I do think there's something to somebody being able to connect with people emotionally. And that's where I think great orators come in. The risk with the firebrandism that I don't like is that it morphs into demagoguery, where you're not just connecting with people emotionally, you're catering to their emotions. You're appealing to their emotions instead of to their reason. So I think both are important. I just think that you have to be careful with the firebrand. What do you think, Mark?
Same. I mean, I wouldn't call it firebrand. I'd say I'd say passionate discourse. I think what a lot of people in our world sort of lack, Michael, is charisma, and they lack passionate engagement with what they're saying. It's like when I was telling you about my problem with the social media group that was putting out these videos about liberty and capitalism that were 5 minutes, 6 minutes long, with academics that were, taking apart complex economic issues and everything they said was absolutely true, and they lost my interest within 30 seconds. There's no passion behind it. It's simply appealing to somebody's sense of reason, which is great. We want to do that, but we also want to engage them, right? And the left does that very well. They have whole narratives, some of them apocalyptic in nature, that engage people's imaginations and that pull at their heartstrings. And that's what we as individualists can do and should do. Passionate advocacy, Michael, passionate advocacy.
Right. When I read about Patrick Henry's speech, advocating for freedom, the give me liberty or give me death, I'm reading through this. I read it in a book called Patriots, something, the men who started the revolution or some such thing. And they described in detail as he explains it. And then when he gets to the point where he says, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, and he gets down on one knee and pounds his chest, give me liberty or give me death. What's he say? Oh God. He's I hear is life so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased as the price of chains and slavery. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty and give me death. Voiced with passion on one knee as he hits his chest. That's powerful.
Very powerful. It gives me chills. It gives me chills just hearing the words, let alone, can you imagine sitting there in the House of Burgesses or whatever it was, listening to this amazing thing.
Right. And there was, we'll get to this later on when we discuss Lexington and Concord and Paul Revere, but I got chills this morning thinking about this because they asked the leader of the men if they were ready to go, the American side, to go to Concord and fight. And he says, not one of my men is afraid. And I'm just like, God damn, that's sick. We have great. A new member. We have a new member. That's awesome. I'm going to put it up because there's no way I'm pronouncing that.
There's no way you can. It's in a different alphabet. Well, I appreciate that capitalism is extending its reach across hemispheres, man. Mr. Deagle says it's so passionate and emotional, but it's also deeply philosophical. And that's what makes it totally satisfying on every level. And this is the way that we as capitalists and individuals have to approach everything. We need to satisfy the mind and the spirit, the heart and the mind. We need to make appeals to the emotional lives of people too, man, because that's what people relate to. It's how they engage. But Michael, let's talk a little bit about democratic socialism, because they have a lot of self-detonating policies, right?
So this right here, you can read this. This is right from their their platform, the Democratic Socialists of America.
Okay, the icon is just in the middle of some of this, but I'll try to read it.
All right, hold on. I'll get rid of it. You don't have to panic. Go ahead.
So not panicked. So we want a democracy that creates space for us all to flourish, not just survive, and answers the fundamental questions of our lives with the input of all. I'll read the whole thing at once, and then we should comment sentence by sentence.
All right.
If we want to collectively own the key economic drivers that dominate our lives, such as energy production and transportation. We want the multiracial working class united in solidarity instead of divided by fear. We want to win radical reforms like single-payer Medicare for all, defunding the police, refunding communities, the Green New Deal, and more as a transition to a freer, more just life. Michael, this is a paragraph ridden with multiple paradoxes that are unresolvable, and frankly, moral problems that we should be discussing. Let's discuss this sentence by sentence because it needs to be broken down a little bit.
Okay, so
go ahead.
You pick the sentences and we'll discuss.
Well, because it says we want a democracy that creates space for all to flourish, not just survive. But first of all, Michael, there's a sort of a package deal going on here with respect to the concept of democracy, freedom, and a voice in society that is troubling to me, because as you and I know, democracy is just majority rule, and the minority, and we are the smallest minority of all individuals, are left out of that equation, right? if you can't equate the concept of democracy with full choice and full liberty, because you're subject to the majority will in a democracy. You have no choice or will in that case. And so if you're talking about all to flourish, not just survive, you're talking about creating space. The space is created by individualism, not by democratic vote. The space is created by holding to principles that the individual is a sacrosanct being and autonomous, not by claiming that everything is up for vote.
Yeah, and I got to tell you something. So I don't want input from all on how I'm going to live
on your
my
life.
Right?
Right? Yeah.
I'll decide that. Thank you. That's how I'll flourish. That's how I'll survive. The fundamental question of my life is not up for majority vote, right?
Yes.
But that's what they bake it in. We want a democracy. So majority rule that creates space. Majority rule doesn't create space. Principles do. Principles of liberty, of reason, of capitalism, individual rights. The system that allows you to flourish and not just survive is capitalism, not socialism. All you have to do is look at the socialist countries. It's freaking ridiculous. So that's the key to that for me is I'm not part of some collective. Other people are not making my decisions for me. I can do that for myself. I do want to acknowledge Greg Doherty, new member of the YouTube channel. Awesome,
Thank you,
Greg.
sir.
Thank you very much. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, Michael, you're not an avatar for humanity. You are an autonomous human being. And all of your values, the things you purchase in life, what you pursue in life, it's not open for vote. It's not up to the community to decide whether or not the values you pursue are just or good. And it's not up to them to provide the standard that, well, if your values actually somehow promote the well-being of this particular group, then we'll allow it. No, that's the opposite of creating space for an individual to live. That's the opposite of thriving and surviving. It's putting people's lives literally up for vote.
So I want to answer this question for Mr. Deagle before we get to the next point, because I think this is important. He says the USA seems to be in trouble, but it has seemed that way multiple times before. Harry Binswanger thought that America would become a dictatorship in a few years when he was in his 20s. Is there a way to know if it is actually getting close to a dictatorship or if there will simply be another 50 years of mixed economy? And I'm going to say there is not a way. And I'm going to tell you why. And hold, let me just cough real. So the problem is human behavior is very hard to predict. And oftentimes a trend can be going one way and then some disaster happens that completely throws it the other way. Not only that, but we can change things, right? So we're not, society and individuals, we're not some mechanistic thing that's automatically headed in a direction and there's nothing we can do to stop it. We can share ideas, we can discuss, we can debate. So making predictions is just, to me, not the way to go when it comes to this type of stuff. I would say that we are trending toward very bad stuff because both the left and the right in this country are putting forth very, very bad ideas, and those with the worst ideas have the most energy. How that's going to turn out, I have no idea.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time that America, or not America, but that humanity has lost knowledge, has lost progress. I mean, we've had a few dark ages in American history so we could go that way, certainly. The trends and the passion seems to be going that way. But we have something presently that those past ages didn't have. You know, the dark ages of that happened in the 12th century BC, the dark age of the Middle Ages in Europe, didn't have a rational society or a rational underground that was married to science, married to progress, married to reason and individualism to combat it. Now, what we have is reality on our side, and that means that a small minority of people can change the world if they come up with the kind of messaging that can appeal to people's minds. So a small amount of people can do it, man. I mean, traditionally also small impassioned groups have changed the course of society, oftentimes for the worse, as with the Bolsheviks in Russia, but it can happen in America with liberty-minded folks as well. So Michael, it goes on to say here, we want to collectively own the key economic drivers that dominate our lives, such as energy, production, and transportation. Dominate our lives. Do you think these things dominate people's lives? Everything's about power. Have you noticed that? Power, the acquisition of power, the dominance of one group over another. There's no such thing as economic elements being, necessities for thriving. But please tell me what you think of this concept about dominating our lives.
So first of all, like you said, it's the bait and switch. It's using terms that don't apply. So dominating is not energy production is not dominating my life. It helps my life considerably, right? It's not dominating me. Transportation is very good. Like, I mean, when this show ends, I got to take about a half-hour drive. What if I didn't have the automobile? What if I didn't have the energy production? How the hell would I get there? Walk? I'd be. And never mind the fact that I got to use my computer to enter in the data. It's like when they talk about freedom. Well, freedom means freedom from force, freedom from compulsion. But they talk about, no, you need the freedom that Roosevelt talked about. You're not really free if you can't afford the things that you want in life. But if you back up a little bit in that same sentence, we want to collectively own. Collectively own. Well, what about the people who own it now? How are you going to get it from them in order for you to collectively own it? And by the way, nobody is stopping these people from buying up property in a given neighborhood and collectively doing whatever the hell they want to do. Nobody's stopping them from starting their own companies and running them collectively, like the 20th Century Motor Company and Atlas Shrugged. Nobody's stopping them. See, that's the thing. In a capitalist society, in a free society, the socialists can get together with their pals and implement their system. The socialists are free to speak. They're free to argue. They're free to put their point of view out. Now, flip that. In a socialist country, are we free to argue for capitalism? Are we free to buy up our own stuff, our own neighborhood, and just run it on a capitalist model? No, we're not. So in which situation are you free? In which aren't you free?
Yeah, Michael, it just shows that what they don't want economic power, Michael. They want political power, which is the power of the gun. They want the capacity to compel people to adopt their values. And if you don't adopt them, well, they're going to dominate you and use force against you. Yeah, energy is not a dominating force, Michael. Human beings are a dominating force. Energy is a necessity that capitalism has enabled us to exploit to greater and greater uses for human thriving. It's capitalism that has taken us from less efficient energy sources to greater energy sources, which means more scalable, cheaper and accessible, greater bang for your buck. And Michael, and the final evolution of this is fission energy and then cold fusion. The way we are moving now is away from some of the resources that the left wants us to get away from and into something even more amazing, more perpetual, with greater scalability and greater energy density than what they want to give us with their unreliable sources of energy. And also transportation, Michael, collectivizing transportation means they want to rob you and I of our individual autonomy. The automobile was one of the greatest inventions of humankind. It freed us up to go anywhere on our own time. You're not dependent upon the schedule of some bureaucrat who decides when the trains run and when they don't, or on a community of people who decide where and when you can go somewhere. Nope. You make up your own time, your own schedule. It is an aspect of human autonomy that they are trying to rob us of. What is noble about that? What's good about that, Michael?
Not a mother-loving thing.
We want the multiracial working class united in solidarity instead of divided by fear.
What about the multiracial rich? They're screwed. We can pander to race as long as those members of those races, members of those ethnicities are in our group that we're choosing.
Yeah, and united by solidarity, the common cause of robbing other people of their resources and taking them over by force, divided by fear. Well, it seems to me that the socialists are the ones sowing society with fear, and they make us fear the earth, Michael, because it's rebelling against our technology, and they advocate things like the Green New Deal to lessen our footprint in the world. They don't advocate for human thriving, but for fear. They talk about all of the institutions that we think are just and good as being, well, descendants of people from people with power, and their sole purpose of principles like individualism and autonomy are actually not to set you free, Michael, but to keep you beholden to a particular class. And so principles of good, principles of right, what they call, bougie ideals are really just descended from a political class that wants a political and economic class that wants to keep you subjugated. I don't know, Michael, I'm not subjugated by autonomy. I'm not subjugated by any of that.
No, you're not. I don't know what else to add. I mean, you said it so beautifully. That was great, Mark.
We want to win radical reforms like single payer.
Hold on 1 second. No, yes. Radical is in quotation marks, as if it's not really radical, but people might think it is. Right?
So it presumes, Michael, that really the self-evidently moral thing to do is to rob some people of capacity and then just redistribute that to people who are incapable. The Marxist concept of from each according to his ability to each according to his need should be a self-evident moral maxim for all of us to follow. And Medicare for all, Michael, which robs everybody of choice. People who don't want medical insurance, people would prefer to pay out of pocket, an infinite variety of compensation methods with which people would want to approach their insurance choices with are now robbed from them in the interest of providing this quote unquote social safety net.
Yeah, look, Medicare for all is a disaster. Again, and it's when we make the positive case for capitalism, free markets are both moral in that it doesn't involve the initiation of force. People are allowed to be free to make their own choices, their own investments, whether they want insurance, whether they don't want insurance, what doctor to go to. But not only that, they produce the best results in that you end up with better care, more options, not a government sort of one size fits all approach. But the thing that got me with this, Mark, really, did you read the whole thing and I missed it?
Yeah. No, I haven't read the whole thing yet.
Okay, let me read the whole thing. So we want to win radical reforms like single-payer Medicare for all, defunding the police and refunding communities, the Green New Deal, and more as a transition to a freer, more just life. Okay. So let's just look at this. The one thing they want to defund is the one thing that in a proper society would be funded, and that's the police to protect our rights. Right? That's the one thing they want to stop funding. They want to get rid of the police. Now, I'm not saying that there's not valid critiques of police. I've offered a ton of them. But that they are necessary should be obvious. Right? The Green New Deal, there's so much to that. Like you said, they're anti-life, pro-planet, anti-life. But this really kills me as a transition to a freer, more just life. Just by what standard? Justice means giving people what they deserve, what they've earned. But you're saying that if I've earned a fortune, I shouldn't have it. You're saying, and in fact, I believe you're saying that there's no way I actually could have earned a fortune. And so you're not practicing justice. How are you free if I'm not free to open my own business? How am I free if I'm not free to say, I think I can sell this product for X amount of dollars, and you are telling me, no, I cannot? How am I free if I can't turn on my air conditioning because you're saying it's going to fuck up the carbon footprint?
Yeah, Michael. See, what they mean by just is just according to a sacrificial standard. So, if you are sacrificing the most, then you are considered giving to the least. That is their conception of justice, right? And when they say free, they mean free of all the metaphysical requirements of living, right? Life, just being born, being subject to natural laws, the laws of nature, Michael, places certain obligations on you if you choose to live, right? You have to pursue values to live. It's what every living thing has to do. An irrational being pursues values in a particular way. And what they want you to be free of is that. It's the Eden complex, Michael, where they disparage the concept that you have to work to live, and they consider it a curse and offer you the Eden, where you don't have to work at all. Just the very fact of your existence bestows upon you the privilege of having values dropped into your lap. Now, that's because they also assume, Michael, production just happens, values just happen, everything just happens to the socialists. It's not like an extreme amount of mental and physical work went into producing a value. Even fresh water, Michael, you can't go to a freshwater stream and drink straight out of it. Everything in life has to be processed. It has to be processed, right? It has to be produced. It has to go through a process that requires your mind and physical effort in order to complete. So there's no way they can avoid that. There's no way they can push it to the sidelines and pretend it's happening on its own, and that and they could pretend to redistribute the beneficiaries of this stuff. But in the end, it's just a denial of laws of nature and of man. And it's placing in there, Michael, the twisted notion that freedom means freedom from the laws of nature. Not from other human beings compelling you to do shit, but from the laws of nature.
But from reality, right?
Reality, yes.
For those who were tuning in from X, you are watching The Capitalist Corner is the name of the show. It's on the Rational Alternative YouTube channel. We'd really like you to subscribe. We've got great content, as you're seeing right now. So Jeanette says radicals are a key word there. The interesting thing to me is this, though, Mark.
Yeah.
Really, we're the radicals. Really, we're the ones that are offering something new, something fresh, something that is unprecedented in human history. We are offering freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom to accumulate whatever property you earn and to do whatever you want with it, so long as you're not violating somebody else's equal right to do the same. That's the new thing. Right? That's new. It's never actually been achieved. So we are really the ones who are the radicals. And I'll say this again and again and again and again. In prison, I had all my needs met. I was just thinking about this a few minutes ago when I had to go do the laundry, that in prison, they did my laundry for me. In prison, they fed me 3 times a day. In prison, they paid all the bills for me. But you know what? I wasn't free. People want to have needs met by somebody else or be free. I choose freedom every single day. I said it to people in prison over and over again. If offered this or sleeping under a bridge, I'll take the bridge anytime.
Yeah, Michael, it's like the socialists are pure materialists. They think that human dignity is in getting your material needs satisfied. They don't care how that happens. They don't understand the relationship between how you get those material needs satisfied and your sense of dignity and pride. They just think dignity is in that. Whereas you and I, capitalists and individualists, understand that dignity is actually in liberty. It's in it's when you're free to think and act for your life. And when you act and think for your life and see the benefits of that action and thought, you feel a sense of pride. You feel a sense of dignity. Dignity is in your freedom, Michael. It's in your human liberty. The greatest gift the founders ever gave to us was human liberty. That's where your dignity is, right? There's a picture that sort of references in a different way what you just said. It shows a lion on the savannah, free, and the lion in the cage. The lion in the cage has all his needs answered, right? It gets fed and water every day, might even be allowed to mate, with to keep the species going in the interest of the zoo. But the lion on the savannah is the happy one, and it's an unsure existence. He might not live 24 hours. He might live for another 30 years. You don't know. It's a little bit dangerous, but he's happy. And I prefer that. I prefer the unknowns in a free society than the solidity and security of releasing my volitional faculty and giving it to somebody else. I prefer not.
I'm going to find a great quote from the great Lord Acton in a second, but I want to say something first. We've often commented on how the right, by right, I basically mean the Republican Party, sold out to Trump. They become beholden to one man. And so that it becomes a situation where they don't put out their principles and then judge Trump according to whether he's aligned with those principles. They wait for Trump to say what their principles and policies should be. On the left, the Democrats, they're catering now to the socialists. Democrats have a very high view of socialism. And I think you're going to see more and more the elected politicians start to cater to that. And then what does the choice that the voters have between erratic, big government pragmatism, statism on the right or socialism on the left? These are not good choices.
No, it's the choice between Hitler or Stalin. And neither of them are good, and you cannot choose a lesser of two evils in those cases. You're sentencing yourself to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. So I say, in such a case, you have to choose another alternative, folks, which happens to be out there right now. It's the AmericanCapitalistParty.org. Go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org to check out what we're doing. We have a national convention coming up in September 19th and 20th in Pittsburgh. Please sign up. Please register. Come and be a part of this. What will hopefully become the second American Revolution. It will be a revolution like the first one in thought before anything else. So please come and join us. Michael, did you want to
read the quote first, then we can get to Paul Revere and Lexington and Concord. The quote from Lord Acton is, "The finest opportunity ever given to the world was thrown away because the passion for equality made vain the hope for freedom."
Amazing.
Phenomenal.
Amazing. We need more Lord Actons in the world today. So, Michael, you want to talk about Paul Revere? Or did you want to get into any Iran news for a second? I mean, we only have to spend a second on Iran.
Go ahead. You could give the Iran news. I'm so sick of Iran. I got it. Okay, I'll give it. They hit a Singapore.
It's important.
It is important. No, but it is important. But I'm fed up with it. Look, I've seen too many people sell out their principles for this war. I see Donald Trump selling out the country. It's embarrassing for the country. It was bad policy. People have lost their lives. A number of very detrimental things are happening and will happen in the future. And so the IRC, what is it? IRCG? Yeah, IRCG. They had a drone strike on a Singaporean ship that was going through the Strait of Hormuz. They said, well, I guess the Iranians are under the impression where they got that, I don't know, that they're free to basically do what they want here. And they're saying that ships can go through, but they have to go through approved channels. And so they struck it. And, I'm sure we're going to get a threat from Trump. I haven't been following the news throughout the day because I've been doing other things. But I'm sure there will be something from Trump because he's out there saying they really want to make a deal. He's sticking with they really want to make a deal. Maybe they may want to make a deal to fix the Lincoln pool there. I think this guy is too much, and the people that kiss his ass are worse.
Yeah, well, likely, Michael, he will shift the metric like he always does. It will be something like this. Well, nobody was injured in this. There was just a little bit of property damage. So this is not a violation of the 60-day ceasefire. The negotiations can continue. along the same lines that they have been going. Now, all the while, Michael, the spokesperson for Iran is continuously making an ass of the administration. I mean, the administration has said, look, there's going to be no frozen assets for Iran that are going to be freed up, given the fact that they're not really abiding by the reciprocal nature of the memorandum of understanding. And if they are released, it's going to be to pay farmers, Michael, to ship soybeans and wheat and other necessities to the people of Iran who are starving. Now, of course, the spokesperson for Iran said, what? This isn't going to happen. We're not here to support farmers. Can you see Trump actually putting this out there thinking, oh, I got him now. I'll be able to tickle my base. You know, the farmers out there in the Midwest will love me because I'll get some subsidization for them, while at the same time giving it to the Iranians. No, it's the Iranians are denying that that's even happening, Michael. Once again, we're in this clusterfuck of a situation where the administration is just seen as completely and totally feckless and being outmaneuvered by a ridiculous gang of religious fanatics, Michael, who could really, if we had our druthers, we could really wipe them out. We could really do it, but we won't.
What does that mean, druthers? I mean, I know it means my preferences, but where does it come from?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure where it comes from.
You just run around repeating things, and you don't even.
Well, I don't have to know the etymology of a word to know what it means necessarily, or its origins to know what it means. Before you go into finding out the origins of druthers, Michael, let's talk about Paul Revere in Lexington and Concord.
Oh, what a guy he was, huh?
Yeah, have you been to his house, by the way?
No, I've never been invited.
Yeah, his house there is in North Boston. I think it's one of the oldest surviving structures in North Boston. You could go there and visit it. It's pretty cool, actually. He was a pretty phenomenal figure, man. Do you want to talk about him, or do you want me to?
Well,
continue?
So Paul Revere was a silversmith, out there in Boston, Massachusetts. He was a pretty well-connected guy, and he was a patriot, and he was part of what did they call it, Mark?
Sons of Liberty? Committees of Correspondence?
No. It was God, I can't remember the word I'm looking for. It doesn't matter. It was basically a little organization, a network of people that were going to warn when things were changing, when things were going wrong. And so when the British regulars were on the way, now he never shouted, the British are coming, because, of course, he would have thought of himself as British, as would the other Americans. So, but he is going and warning, all along the route that the regulars are on their way. They were going to arrest Sam Adams and John Hancock. So he goes and warns them. He warns the other people that the regulars are coming, so they're coming to seize their stash of weapons in Concord. He played a very pivotal role along with Samuel Prescott and William Dawes. I think great guy.
Great guy. He also served in the military, Michael, and became an industrialist afterwards. He owned a copper company. And he was and brass company, and he was responsible for making a lot of the bells, including the Liberty Bell, if I recall, that rang.
I think you just made that up.
Oh, okay, maybe I did. I gotta look this up. I thought he was responsible for creating that once was in the Pennsylvania State House, folks. So anyway, very interesting guy, of course, enabled the militias to muster in Lexington to head off what was supposed to be an arrest and seizure of the cache, weapons cache over in Concord. Of course, Lexington militia was the militia that met them at Lexington was a rather small force against the 400 or so British troops that were marching through to Concord. They were forced to retreat, but it was at the North Bridge, Michael, in Concord, that a band of militia, American militia, fought back the British troops, and then thousands. I could just see this, Michael. Thousands of militiamen just came out of the woodworks and harassed the British troops on their way back to Boston. And when you look at the casualty figures, it was something like 270 some odd British soldiers were injured and killed in the skirmish, about 75 American militiamen. It was a rout. I mean, we forced them to retreat, and if they didn't have reinforcements that came from Boston, they would have been completely slaughtered.
And they won Lexington. I mean, they got the better of the battle at Lexington, but once they got to Concord, forget it. They got their asses handed to them.
Not only that, Michael, but later on, just not too long later, when Breed's Hill happens, I mean, they technically beat us at Bunker and Breed's Hill. But
why are you bringing Breed's Hill into this?
All right, so you wanted to do this on Monday or something?
Well, we can do it at another time, but we're focused right now
because
on the first battle.
Because what I wanted to talk about was how we slugged them in the face super hard in the opening salvos of the American Revolution. Look, when you think about how it was just a band of farmers and lawyers and merchants that got together and fought against the superpower of the world in the 18th century, it's heady, man. And to think that we won those battles initially, or when we lost, we hurt them badly enough to say, if we win more battles like this, we're going to lose the war. That's a very heady thing, man. Luckily for us, folks, luckily for the future of America, we had a country that was populated by people with grit.
What are the sins of liberty, Christopher Smith? So, anyways, yes, Lexington and Concord, the first battles of the Revolutionary War, fought before the Declaration of Independence was signed. Paul Revere risked his life, was ultimately captured before he gets to Concord. Yeah, he gets captured, ultimately gets released. I think he got released because the Brits had to fight too many people. They couldn't handle the prisoners and the fighting, so they let him go. Bravo, Paul Revere. Bravo, Minutemen. Bravo, Patriots, who kicked ass and took names.
Amen to that. So Michael, do you have any? Did we get the question answered? Did we even have a question yesterday? Did you have a question?
What do you mean?
Did you have a question yesterday?
I know you. Listen, I know you've been in France a lot, but what is this?
Here.
We?
I forgot that I was on KTLA 5.
Oh
but
my God!
Did you ask a question yesterday?
Of course, so, I asked a question. I never remember.
I want to know what the answer to my question was the previous day.
The answer to your question the previous day was get a new mic.
Ah, come on.
I'm just telling you, dude.
Come on.
All right, let's figure in here. I got a controversy going on where Diane is asking if I love capitalism more than her. Okay.
Tread carefully, my friend.
Okay. We've got 3 comments yesterday. The question was, and Megan Ribbons came forward with the question. What do you mean tread carefully?
Never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
Are you going to keep interrupting? I was talking and you jumped in and said, go. You go. Listen, the question for Megan Ribbons was, what would our lives be like if we had real capitalism? And Greg Doherty's the only one that answered. He said, if capitalists, we'd all be millionaires, have self-driving jets and flying cars, and live to 150. Hey, I'm with that, man. I'm up for that. So what do you mean tread carefully? You don't think that I should answer the question?
No, I do think you should. I think you should. I know how I would answer the question from myself.
I'm curious. How would you answer it? I know how I would answer it. I want to see if you'd answer it the same way.
I can't say publicly. I'll tell you privately. So Michael, should I give the capitalist thought for the day?
Sure, but do you want me to give my answer first?
Yeah, go ahead. You're going to give it publicly. Go ahead.
I will give it publicly. The problem is, if we don't have freedom, I don't have the ability to love anybody, really. I don't have the ability to make the choices that I want. I don't have the ability to be with the person I want to be with. I don't have the freedom to work in order to live my life the way that I want. I may not even love myself at that point because it would be an utter disaster. So if you want to love people, you need freedom ultimately as the backdrop. So when I say I love capitalism, it isn't a matter of saying I love it more. It's a matter of saying I love it fundamentally because it's a prerequisite of loving everything else. And I don't mean when I say love capitalism, I mean love freedom, love liberty.
That's exactly my sentiment. However, I think you will be sleeping alone tonight. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
that's
well, I don't
exactly
know where she's going to go. We got one bed and no couch, unless she wants to go on the table in the other room.
you're going on the
Because
couch
I'm
with
not
the
getting
table.
out of the bed.
Yeah,
And I
Ariana
love
says,
Diana
is
very
selfish.
much.
Love is selfish. I love this thought. It's a selfish act. It has to be in order to be loved. I agree with you, Michael. What person would want to hear from their loved one? I don't love you because it does anything for me. I love you because, and name any
Doing you a
other.
favor.
I'm doing you a favor. Yeah, that's ugly and disgusting, and nobody would want to hear that. Yeah, Michael.
Mark, listen, I'm your friend really because I think you're so pathetic.
Because you need
it. Yeah, you need someone
I
like
don't
me
need it.
hanging
You
around.
don't make me feel good. You don't challenge me in any way.
Look,
But yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty gross. Yeah, and look, that's my capitalist thought for the day would be echoing that. Without freedom, which is what capitalism means, nothing else is possible. Realizing any value in your life is impossible. And when you cannot do that, imagine what happens to your dignity, your sense of pride, your sense of efficacy in the world. If you're not free to think and act on your thoughts in your own best interest as you see fit, it is only a matter of time before you lose your soul. So look, when we're fighting for capitalism here in a system of complete freedom, freedom of association, freedom of thought, freedom of action, we are arguing for a system of complete human dignity. We are arguing for the only system that conforms to human nature and has human nature's thriving as its premise. That's what we promote, folks. So please spread this idea through every social media platform you can, because this needs to be the new dominant ethics. Go ahead, Michael. You have a question?
Yeah, I'll ask the question even though I asked it yesterday. So, well, now I forgot what I was saying. Oh, my question is this. So we've been covering, and I've maybe asked this before, but I'll ask it again. We've been covering the American Revolution. We're going to be doing it at least for another week in, preparation for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Is there anything about this period in America that you think we should talk about? Any incident, any person that you don't think we're gonna? So I'm going to put this out there. Don't say Thomas Jefferson, because we're going to talk about Thomas Jefferson next week, right? We're going to talk about Washington. We're going to talk about Ben Franklin. So aside from those folks, is there any event or any person that you think that we should be talking about? Go answer those questions.
And thank
Please,
you very much.
And you do it. Where do you do it?
On YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. You go to YouTube, you answer the question. Also, like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the name of the channel is The Rational Alternative. Please go there, subscribe, share the various shows, and there you go.
All right, folks, you got some shows, I think, coming up on this weekend with Michael, but for the Capitalist Corner, you're going to have to wait till Monday. That gives you a couple days to check your premises, okay, folks? So
hold on.
What?
Don't say it, because Megan Ribbons is here and I got to send her a message. Megan, send me the person we're going to be talking about tomorrow, because Megan and I tomorrow are going to be doing Capitalist Corner Weekend, where we're going to be discussing education and somebody with a prominent role or a prominent critic, but I need to know who so that I can prepare. She was supposed to choose. I told her by Friday. Megan, get her done. Tomorrow, noon Eastern time, Megan Ribbons, the great biologist, Dr. Mommy, and myself will be doing it. And remember, Sunday morning for you members, 9 a.m., we'll be doing special content. Yes, Mark, awesome thought for the day. Now you can bid them adieu.
All right, folks, I bid you adieu. Remember to check your premises. Peace.